Tom. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Alright, so today I want to do some looting, some shooting, and some screwing over of my mates.
So, you want to play Colt Express.
Rad.
So this is Colt Express, a loot-grabbing scheming game designed by Christoph Rainbolt and released in 2014.
The aim of the game is to finish the game with the most money. You do this by punching, shooting, and looting your way through the train.
To set up the game, you need to build your train and then place it out so that the engine is at the front and then there are carriages equal to the number of players. Then, on each carriage, you will see a little symbol that indicates what loot needs to be placed on that train. And you also put one briefcase in the engine compartment.
And then everyone picks their own character, in which they will receive their own action deck, their own injury deck, corresponding coloured meeple, oh he's so cute, he's got little guns, as well as a $250 bag to start off the game.
Next, you need to set up your round cards. The bottom of the round card deck is always the same. It is the brown stop card. On top of this, you will put 4 cards corresponding to your number of players, either 2 to 4 or 5 to 6. So you grab that deck, shuffle it, and put 4 on top of the card.
Next up, we introduce a neutral character known as the Marshal. He's this little guy right here, and we put him up in the front of the train. And we also set aside his own injury deck in front of the train.
Lastly, you need to pick your first player.
Dibs.
Sure. That player is number 1, and clockwise around the table, everybody gets a number. So 2, 3, and so on. Odd number players go into the caboose, the last part of the train, and even number players go in the car next to that. So I'll go in the caboose, and then you're all set to play. Colt Express is played out in 5 rounds, and each round is played out in 2 phases, scheming and stealing. To start a round, you flip over a round card, and this will show how many cards you will play this turn and what special effects are in play this round. This is all explained on the back of the rules book.
At the beginning of the scheming phase, each player will draw 6 cards from their action deck. Then, at the beginning of each player's turn, they'll have a choice to make. They can either play a card from their hand onto the common pile, or draw an additional 3 cards from the action deck.
Once the scheming phase has been played out, you enter the stealing phase. You flip over the common pile, play out their cards from top to bottom, resolving their effects immediately.
To successfully scheme and steal from each other, you're going to have to know what each card actually does.
There are 6 different actions that you can take when playing Colt Express. The first of these is floor change. This is your vertical movement, and when this is resolved, you must immediately change floors, either up or down, depending on where you currently are. The next is horizontal movement. When you're inside the train, you can move 1 space left or right, but when you're on top of the train, you can move up to 3 spaces left or right. How many you move is up to you.
Next, we have the looting action. If there's any available loot on your space, you can take 1 loot token and put it onto your character sheet. If there is multiple tokens on your part of the train, you're free to take whatever one you want, but you can only take 1. Next action is punching. If another player is on the same space as you, that player is punched. They drop a loot token of your choice, and then are moved to any adjacent carriage of your choice as well.
The next action is shooting. When you're inside the train, you shoot into an adjacent carriage, and when you're on top of the train, you can shoot line of sight as far as you can. When you shoot someone, you give them one of your injury tokens. This will clog up their deck and not let them perform an action for that card they've drawn. There you go. Deal with it. When shooting, you can never shoot someone that's on the same carriage as yourself. And if you're on top of the train, you can't shoot through someone to hit someone behind them. With punching or shooting, if there are multiple people you could choose, you have to pick one. There's also a special feature of the game called the Gunslinger. If you shoot the most bullets, you get $1,000. If 2 people share the most bullets shot, they both get $1,000.
Finally, we have the Marshal. When the Marshal is resolved, it is moved 1 space left or right. It can never go on top of the train.
The Marshal's a little bit interesting because if you ever end up on the same space as him, you immediately get shot and get sent to the top of the train. You then take 1 injury card from the Marshal and clogs up your deck.
Most importantly, if able to, all actions must resolve, even if you don't want them to.
Each character has their own special ability which bends the rules of the game a little bit, like Doc, who draws 7 cards instead of 6.
Or Ghost, who, for the first turn of each round, can play an action card face down.
All the rules for each character are on the back of the rulebook.
So after all 5 rounds are completed, it's time to count up the money to see who won the game.
Flip over all your loot tokens, figure out who won Gunslinger, and whoever has the most money wins. So that's Colt Express. It can get out of hand quickly, but you're guaranteed to have a good time.
As always, don't forget to read the rules before you play, and don't forget to subscribe.
If you want to see Colt Express in all its glory, click the card in the top corner. We've been Tom and Reese for Nerds of the West. Catch you next time.